Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all having a lovely day. So today I would like to discuss some of the updates regarding right to repair in different states and also some of the partnerships that my two nonprofits have, Repair Preservation Group and Repair Preservation Group Action Fund, just to give you an idea of what it is that's been going on. So if you're ever interested in this, you can go to fighttorepair.org and then go blog, and I usually make a post here anytime, we hire a new lobbyist or a bill fails or a bill gets presented and stuff like that. So the first thing that I wanted to go over is the work that we were doing in the state of Washington. As you know, I have testified in Washington before, and I've posted a couple of videos to the channel, usually roasting the lobbyists that are saying that people will install TikTok on your phone and stuff like that. Anyway, that we did some work there because it was a chair of a committee that was actually interested in right to repair, so we figured we should get in there while strike while the iron is hot, and unfortunately that failed to move forward. The problem that we had is just the same usual, again, the usual suspects, CTA, CTIA, TechNet, Apple, showing up and, in my opinion, bullshitting legislators. What they were doing is they were proposing all these ridiculous asinine amendments to the bill. Instead of just saying, let's get rid of it, they would present a ridiculous amendment to make you think the bill was scarier than it is. So one of the amendments proposed was something along the lines, and don't quote me exactly, was something along the lines of, don't have schools using third-party repair, don't have students using third-party repair, because that will compromise data security. Because you realize that I don't make money by picking up my soldering iron and fixing things. I make money off of taking your critiques of Oscar Wilde that you did for English literature and then stealing it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to steal your homework. I'm sorry. Like it was never about the soldering or the money or any of that. So the sad thing is that enough legislators fell for it, and unfortunately that was not able to move forward. I was a little disappointed there because when you look at the testimony, whether Derek Stanford, Doug Erickson, Marco Lias, at least in the Senate, they were really on top of calling the lobbyists out on their bullshit, and I found it to be unfortunate that 2 years later, a lot of that same bullshit was able to convince them. I think that it may have been different if we were not doing all of this over Zoom and email. You're not always going to have the same ability to point out why something is bullshit over an email. It's just not the same. It's easy to ignore an email. It's slightly harder to ignore somebody that's standing right in front of you with, 30 or 40 other people that are work in that industry that are just going to, it just demonstrates we're normal people. We're not lunatics. The other people are lunatics that are making all this stuff up. And I'll probably wind up doing a video on why all of that failed once I have more concrete stuff to go on. Obviously, the state of Maryland, we had done work there over the past few years. I went over why that failed in the video, my public response to a low blow, then moving on, which I'm not even going to get into in this video because that is depressing enough as it is, and you guys are already aware of what happened there. I also wanted to go over a little bit of what we've been doing with some other groups. So one of the things that I hope to do after that very generous donor just said, here's 7 figures, have fun, is, well, he didn't exactly say that, but you get the point. It was find the people who had been doing good work all along that just didn't have the funding to do more and provide them with the funding to be able to do more. So when I travel to go to these right to repair hearings across the country, one of the groups that's consistently showed up, consistently done really amazing advocacy work have been US PIRG and Nathan Proctor at US PIRG and his assistant Kevin. And what I wanted to do was just get a plan from him along with other people as to what would you do if you had more funding. And he presented by far the best plan of anybody. And I honestly thought that they deserved the funding because they were always there to begin with. And they were always one of the few that were showing up in favor of the bill in states where nobody showed up in favor of the bill. So, they've been doing the advocacy work all along. So I just thought I would tell you about some of the work that they've been doing with the money that Repair Preservation Group has provided them. So they've been ramping up something called shareholder activism. That's where you get large shareholders of companies to start holding their feet to the fire and saying, why are you not letting people fix stuff, so that they actually have to answer to somebody other than just a man screaming into his camera. And that's something that I've been talking about a lot here. I want people to understand what right to repair is, that are, let's just face it, like, I'm not trying to denigrate myself here. There are people that are never going to watch a screaming New Yorker cursing into his camera on YouTube as he, reballs SMCs or stuff like that. I want to be able to educate people that are just not inside this YouTube Reddit bubble and get them involved. And they've done a lot of work there in educating shareholders on why this is an issue. And they've gotten John Deere, They've gotten Google working on repair programs. They've gotten Dell negotiating changes with them. So they're really kind of holding these companies' feet to the fire. And also, I do believe there was some shareholder work last year with Microsoft that I reported on in June and July. A lot of people have been excited about Elon Musk becoming a large shareholder in Twitter or potentially buying it because it would mean that he may be able to make Twitter a more free speech platform. Whether you agree or disagree with that is a long conversation to be had. But the same general concept is what we were going for here. Have large shareholders of these companies say, why are you making it difficult for independent repair shops and the owners of the products to be able to fix their own products to try to create change that way? It is a way of, kind of twisting a company's arm into doing something that is beneficial for the public by getting the people that actually own the company, the shareholders, to speak up about it. They've been working with the White House pro-competition team. So there is one gentleman, Tim Wu, who is a critical ally in advancing right to repair. They are working to connect lawmakers with experts that can answer some of these questions so that when somebody from TechNet or any one of these lobbying organizations says that we exist to steal consumers' data, they can go over that with actual evidence to demonstrate why that's bullshit. They did a farmers survey with Farmers Union, and they unveiled it when Senator John Tester from Montana dropped his bill, which is a federal bill for a right to repair for agriculture. They're working on coming up with data that demonstrates how the lack of right to repair is actually making it more expensive for VA hospitals to be able to provide service to people. As I've talked about on this channel in the past, you have a $35,000 operating table or something with a $500 motor that lets you choose where the operating table is going to sit. That goes bad. They have to replace the entire table. That's a giant waste to everybody. And they are also working on all different types of lobbying days as well. There's a bunch of interesting stuff that's going on in some states that honestly has nothing to do with my type of right to repair. So again, in Colorado, there's a lot of work being done on wheelchair right to repair because there's a lot of complaints from people that have waited 2 or 3 months to get a wheelchair repaired because they could not choose the provider of their choice. Where in Minnesota and Nebraska and Missouri, we have been doing a lot of work on agricultural right to repair. So as you all know, you know how I feel about Nebraska. So I did a video, Nebraska farmers got fucked. Farm Bureau vice president leaves to work for organization opposing right to repair. So U.S. PIRG has been doing a lot of work trying to get right to repair move forward in Nebraska. And I've went over many reasons in that video that that's not going to happen anytime soon because you have several senators that are doing their best to cockblock that legislation. One of them actually wore a tie, and the tie had Scrooge McDuck on it, and he was smirking as he was filibustering the bill. So it's like, I'm sorry. They tried. God bless PIRG for all the work they've done, repair.org for all the work they've done, but Nebraska feels a little hopeless at this particular point in time. Missouri, we are still working very tough on trying to get a right to repair bill for agriculture moving forward there. Minnesota, there's a pretty good chance of something moving forward there in the next several weeks, and I look forward to seeing that happen. And I'll update you guys as we find new stuff. And if you have any particular questions, feel free to put them in the comments down below. I'd be happy to respond if you've got more specific and more pointed questions. I want to say thank you very much to the people that make this possible, all of you that have made this possible. Honestly, the one person that gave $1 million in the beginning to the C3, responsible for like 99% of this being possible. Thank you very much to that individual. And thank you to everybody who's donated through any one of these programs. So there's stuff like Benevity, Blackboard Giving Fund, all different types of things where you can have your employer match your donations. One of the things that I found really interesting is, I'm not kidding, is that some people have figured out how to get John Deere to donate to this nonprofit. And one of the ways that this happens is if you are donating to a C3 and your employer matches C3 donations to a certain point, the way this works, there was one person that actually wound up having John Deere and Adobe donate to my nonprofit, which was particularly, it wasn't like a world-changing amount of money, but honestly, just being able to read that Deere & Co. had given money to a nonprofit that's trying to work on educating people on their products not being repairable and why it's a problem, I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, one of the things that that U.S. PIRG was able to release was a deer in the headlights report. That's usually a 20 or 30-page report that goes over what it is that John Deere does to make it difficult for people to work on their products. And they are also accompanying that with a formal FTC complaint against John Deere so that the FTC actually takes action. One thing to remember from last year, Biden released an executive order asking the FTC to look into right to repair and look into it as an issue. And we are really trying our best to just, again, dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure that they have everything that they need to do their job, that they don't have to go out of their way to do all this crazy research. I want to hand them everything with citations, with specifics, with testimony from actual farmers so that they know what's going on and they don't have to go, because they got a lot of shit to do. I want to make it as easy as humanly possible for them. And it's really cool when your nonprofit that is funding the group that's doing that is literally getting money from John Deere. So I can't help but laugh when that happens. But yes, thank you to all of you that have used any of these workplace matching programs like Benevity or Blackboard Giving Fund or anything else. Thank you to all of you that even gave a dime. And again, thank you to those of you that didn't give anything, that gave jack shit, but just talked about right to repair to your friends, your family members, people at work, people that matter in your life, and got them to understand why living in an unrepairable world where you own nothing and you're happy is not a world that you're going to be happy. At the end of the day, it isn't even about giving money, although again, just wanted to say, not ungrateful. Thank you very much. It's not about that. It's about changing our culture. Once our culture changes, I think everything else will follow. If you have any specific questions, do ask them down below. Eventually, I plan on doing an additional update video to this Beyond the 990 video I did, a transparent look into my nonprofit and how money is spent. A 990 is a form that is released by nonprofits that say how much the directors are paid. It goes over some of your largest expenditures for the year, and it's really meant so that your average person can just look up a charity or a nonprofit and figure out what are they spending their money on. That is how in the video I did on homelessness and Andrew Cuomo's old charity, I was able to see that the directors are paying themselves like $400,000 or $500,000 a year, and the people were living in squalor, like that kind of shit. In that video, I was going over the bank statements line by line so that you could actually see how we spend money, why we spent it, where it went, and I was explaining the bank statement transactions line by line so you could actually see where the money's going, because I realized that there is an insane level of cynicism when it comes to any modern nonprofit, like the Trump Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, and this foundation. It all just seems like some sort of bullshit ploy for people to evade taxes and get rich while pretending they're doing philanthropy that they're not actually doing. So one of the things that I'm doing to try and address that cynicism here is A, go through bank statements line by line. So whether you agree or disagree with how the money is spent, at least you know where it's going. And B, as I said in this video, both of these nonprofits pay me a salary of $0. And that's about it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. See you on the next video.